Manchester United have reportedly done a deal with JURRIEN Timber, the young centre-back from Ajax, to join Manchester United. In the same reports, it is now stated that Man United are entering talks with Ajax to get this deal done, dusted, and over the line. It's a story that really propped up around the 24th to 25th of April. And of course, there was always going to be links to players currently or that have played for Erik ten Hag in the past. We're going to delve into that and much, much more detail on the Done Deal show for you. But make sure the like button is being smashed. Make sure you're subscribing to the Football Terrace. Check out the QR code reader on the side as well. Let's do this. A very popular figure here, H. Grimes, on across social media, claims that JURRIEN Timber, all terms agreed between Man United and Ajax. The deal is wrapped. He said it was clear since Jan and Feb that Man United and Ten Hag talks. Timber to follow, Ten Hag to Manchester United. This was echoed by MUFC MPB, who stated that positive talks are being held between Manchester United and Ajax for JURRIEN Timber. Man United initiated contact with Ajax in the last 24 hours. That was after a number of outlets had stated that Manchester United had agreed personal terms with the young centre-back. Now, of course, I want your thoughts and I want your feelings on this. How good a player do you think he is? How good a player do you believe he will be? Is this the kind of profile of player, status, ability, the future ahead of them that you believe Man United should be going for? Of course, there was always going to be the links to players that have played for Erik ten Hag in the past. And I suppose the positive thing about Timber is there was a fair amount of talk about him before Erik ten Hag was announced as the Manchester United manager. There's a claim here from a Sky Sports reporter who says that he gave an update on this. Although Bayern Munich are also very interested in him as well. He said he claimed that the 20-year-old could join Ten Hag at Manchester United after talks with his management team have taken place. Man United are heavily interested and are serious, although Bayern Munich have made an inquiry for the centre-back themselves. So that Man United have had their struggles at the back this season with just 7 of their Premier League teams. Sorry, with just 7 other Premier League teams conceding more goals than Manchester United. They shipped 4 last time out against Brighton. So a defensive rebuild could be of real interest to Erik ten Hag. I think what's also intriguing about this deal, when you look at it, he has a market value of around 25 to 30 million pounds. This is a deal that in the modern day era could be seen as quite cheap for such a young, up-and-coming and promising centre-back. A centre-back that can play on the left or the right-hand side of the defence. Now, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you all. I'm not going to talk about being the biggest expert of this young man possible. My advice is read scouting reports, watch some footage, but read scouting reports before he was heavily linked to Manchester United. Why? Because then, you're not getting any kind of weird bias that's trying to make him sound better and or worse because of being linked to Man United. We know that this exists, but it's a very intriguing deal indeed. It's a very intriguing deal in terms of what Man United are looking at, because there are so many talks that are going on. How many players are Man United going to buy? 0 to 4, 1 to 4. We'll get at least 1. 1 to 4, 5 to 8, or 9 plus. When you get linked with Frankie de Jong's, who again, that deal there is still a possibility for, and I'll give you an update on that a little bit later. There's Anthony, also at Ajax, that we're linked to. There's Calvin Phillips, that's a link. There's Botman's name has come up recently, and Pau Torres. All these deals represent different value. Some of the players we're linked with, Darwin Núñez, another. Some players are 60, 70 million pounds. Others are nearer that 20 to 25 million pound mark. There are also links to players on free transfers, such as Christian Eriksen. That's how Man United, in my opinion, push their number of signings between 5 to 8. I don't see it being any more than 8. That would be huge. 5 to 8 is where I think it may end up. That's because I think there's going to be some bargains. You've got the likes of Kamara, Babacar Kamara. You've got who's a free, available on a free. You've got Ericsson that's available on a free. So when we're talking spend here, I'm talking just transfer fees. Of course, there's agent fees, salaries, bonuses that will add into this. You throw in a 25, 26, 27 million pound signing of Timber as an example. Suddenly that's 3 players that's cost you 20 to 25 million. You throwing a Frankie de Jong at 65. Suddenly you've not even hit the 100 million pound mark and you're already on 4 players. You then have to factor in the sale of individuals, Anthony Martial, as an example. Then there's the freeing up of a lot of a lot of wages. Paul Pogba and, Matic alone are going to raise you to near on 350, 400,000 pound per week. Jesse Lingard on nearly 100 grand a week. So you've got all that money to push back into the squad as well. So there is the potential for Man United to do very good business this summer. Will it work out? Will Man United rebuild in exactly the way they want? Only time is going to tell. But what's intriguing is that these stories are now starting to come out, as we've mentioned. You have a number of outlets saying the deal is done between the player and the club, and positive talks are now taking place. You had other claims that actually all terms are now agreed. The deal is wrapped. He's going to be a Manchester United player. It says here that May the 11th, the bid was made. The deal will be official. Now, look, we are going to see. We are going to wait and see what happens with this deal. I'm not too sure how fast this is going to happen, but with journalists that I have spoken to, people behind the scenes, it appears Man United are trying to get 2 or 3 pieces of business done very early on in this transfer window. Now, that represents and will represent a huge positive to Manchester United fans. It's a drop in the ocean to how we want to see the football club be run, but it's certainly encouraging to say nevertheless. Now, what's also interesting is to run Julian Timber's name into across the internet to see what the mainstream media outlets are writing here. And whether you're looking here at the Transfer Tavern, the Manchester Evening News, Football Fancast, amongst many other media outlets as well, there are so many links to him, even a story here on United in Focus, which was a very interesting read earlier on, with a headline here from Dan Coombs that says Bayern Munich fear Julian Timber is heading to Manchester United. It says Bayern Munich could be blocked in their efforts to sign Timber, with Manchester United stealing a march on the young talent. This is a story picked up by Sky Sports Germany, and The Mirror based on this report. So this isn't a quiet story. This isn't something that isn't being discussed. This isn't something that isn't being pushed out there by the mainstream. Yes, we haven't seen any of the transfer tier ones tweet or talk about this in any great detail. Fabrizio Romano said that there is interest and that nothing is advanced at this point. That's normally an indication, with all the other noise surrounding it, that something serious is going on, just like the situation with Frankie de Jong. If he gets completely and utterly rejected, you kind of know that, generally speaking, if one of the tier ones, somebody very close to Manchester United, says absolutely nothing happening, generally at that time it means nothing's happening. When the big boys kind of play it down as early, loose talks, not much going on, but there are other credible journalists, there are other credible outlets, there are other people that get transfer stories right on a regular basis, talking about it being more advanced. I tend to draw a conclusion that it's somewhere in the middle of those two things. We know back on the 24th, 25th of April that the player agreed to the transfer talks, said he was very interested. So would it be inconceivable that nearly 1 month later, personal terms have been agreed? Absolutely. We know there isn't going to be an issue between Ajax and Manchester United. Why? The clubs have an exceedingly good relationship and have done for a long time. On top of that, Edwin van der Sar is in charge. He's a Manchester United legend and will help Man United progress. Equally, he won't hold a player or two back who want to move on to, with all due respect to the Eredivisie and Dutch football at this time, bigger and better things financially, and an opportunity to be part of a rebuild at Man United headed up by Ten Hag. And of course, Ten Hag has a great relationship and will have influence on that as well. In terms of it being the right player, as I've already mentioned, read up about it, do some research. I trust this because it's a player that the manager knows, the manager wants. I think it's very interesting that some of these early signings seem to be players that are part of, Ajax in their blood. Even the links to the likes of Christian Eriksen should really stand out to people. This guy is trying to build something, in his own name and in his own right, but in a way in which it's going to enable him to play his style of football. Now, listen, I don't know if Christian Eriksen is going to happen. Tottenham are also interested. He's 30 years of age. He might think, I want some Champions League football now. Maybe I don't want to join a club on a rebuild. Maybe he does. Maybe he fancies playing in a team like Manchester United under a manager like Erik ten Hag, who could really do with a player like Christian Eriksen. Ball retention is brilliant and whatever else. But Timber's a deal that I'm really excited about. Timber's a deal that I'm very intrigued to see how it progresses in the coming days and weeks. As mentioned already, a number of outlets, a number of journalists, another of the big social media accounts, they're reporting on it all slightly differently. But that is what typically, and you'll see me say this a lot over the summer if you're new to the Football Terrace, that typically tells you there is something positive surrounding this, because there is lots and lots of smoke. And generally when there's smoke, there is fire. Now, I want your thoughts and I want your feelings. Please make sure the like button is smashed before you go. Leave us a comment in the comment section below as well. But Julian Timber to Manchester United, some reporting it's pretty much a done deal. Some are saying that it's the personal terms. Some saying it's early on in the situation. A mixture of reports. But I want your thoughts and I want your feelings below now. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again soon. Thank you.